Hello, this is the latest edition of the All in Skills podcast, and this week I'm really happy to be joined by drama therapist Talya Bruck. Talya, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm really very well. It looks really sunny where you are. It's a bit dark and grim where I am in Melbourne. Where are you?
I'm in London in the UK, and we're actually having a bit of a heat wave, which is quite unlikely for us. So it's great.
Rejoice. Go and buy a chocolate flake or something. 99.
Mr. Whippy.
Mr. Whippy. Yeah, £7 for a Mr. Whippy with a flake. I sense an accent though, Talya. Where are you from?
I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, but I've been in the UK now for this year is my 30th year.
Wow, long time.
Long time. Yes, definitely.
And you now in that situation where people in Cape Town think you sound English and vice versa? Or how is it?
Yes, I think so. Although I'm really surprised when people hear my accent in the UK because I've been here for so long, and Cape Townians, we don't generally have very strong accents. But no, quite often people will pick up that I have an accent. And then, yes, when I go back to South Africa, which I call home, although when I'm there I call here home, people will say, "You're sounding mighty British."
Where do your loyalties lie when it comes to football?
Well, it would have to be with my husband's football team of Arsenal, but nationwide, well, if South Africa was playing England, I would probably be with South Africa. But if England was playing, then I would be with England.
You've been in England a long time. Did you start your career in the UK, or did you start in South Africa?
I started my pre-dramatherapy career in South Africa. When I was in South Africa, dramatherapy wasn't something you could study. So I went to, I actually started off, my career's been quite convoluted. It hasn't been a straightforward path because I struggled at school and I didn't get the grades that I would have needed for university. So I started off as in educare, which was nursery, it was like preschool, nursery, working in nurseries. And then I went on to drama school and did 3 years drama, where it was through the UK, but done in South Africa. So every year we would get invigilated by examiners from the UK.
Well, what was your thinking about drama school? Did you have a thought about becoming an actor?
No, I didn't have a thought about, although obviously we had to do performances and all of that was part of it. And I liked that. But I think my dad had really wanted to be an actor, but it hadn't been a viable career for him because it was a career full of uncertainty. And he came from a family where certainty was something that was needed. So I always knew that it was never a career prospect in terms of not many people make it. But I wanted to teach. I wanted to work with children and I wanted to help in some way. And then while I was doing that and I was working at a children's home, I found out about something called psychodrama. And I met the psychologist in South Africa, Sharissa, who was doing these groups, psychodrama groups. And I started going to psychodrama. And I really found the power of drama was so healing and it was so amazing. And then I found out about dramatherapy in the UK and I thought, oh, I like that because actually it's different to where psychodrama you have the main protagonist. And although there's healing for other people, it's more about the individual. That was my take on it. But with drama therapy, it's more about each individual. And I like the idea that it combined other, we use art, we use movement, we use music. So I like the idea that it wasn't just about the drama bit, that it was encompassing a lot more than just, being on stage and acting. Not that that's what drama therapy is, but.
Studying drama, then, you already had in mind that drama therapy was a direction you wanted to go in?
Not in that concrete thought. I think it was a feeling that I wanted to use drama as to teach and to use as something to help. But I didn't know that when I started the drama, I didn't know about drama therapy. I hadn't heard about it. It was only maybe in year 3 when I came across Sharissa and the work she was doing, and I was working in a children's home in Cape Town. Because the drama was flexible, because the childcare work you were doing it from 2 o'clock onwards, So I could work they were very flexible with me working because I started there as a volunteer. And then when they offered me the job, they knew I was studying. So they worked my hours to be flexible. So it was quite hectic. But what I saw with the children in the children's home, because I was in the toddler unit, was that I would practice the drama on them. I'd be learning about a technique or learning something, and I would practice it. And what I would notice with the children is that there would be some sort of a catharsis, a healing, a learning for them. And I thought, oh, this is really interesting. What's going on here? I haven't thought about this before. And then with the psychodrama, it all kind of came together. And then I started looking into drama therapy.
Was Charissa then doing groundbreaking work in South Africa in this respect, or was there a growing movement?
It was groundbreaking. Can't even remember because it's so long ago. I mean, it is now like well over 30 years ago. She was running these psychodrama groups, and she had, I suppose it was quite groundbreaking for the time. Her main work was as a psychologist, and now she does a lot of work around kindness. And she works a lot in the business world in South Africa now. So I don't actually even know if she's doing the psychodrama stuff anymore. But yeah, something spoke to me about learning about drama more than, because I did drama at school. I was in some plays with, I always felt that there was something wonderful about drama because you could take on this persona and you could just be different. You didn't have to be you. And it was really only when I went into the children's home with the psychodrama, with the drama teaching, that I really then started to see something that could be quite transformative.
After 3 years of drama school, what next?
So I was still working in the children's home, and I was teaching drama part-time. And then I decided that I was going to come to the UK to study drama therapy. So I applied to various places, and then I came over. And I kind of got sidetracked because obviously coming from Cape Town, which is relatively small, and then, the bright white, big lights of London, I got sucked into a bit of traveling, much to my parents' dismay, like getting into, the party scene. But yeah, it was just sucked into the life of living in an overseas country, experiencing and meeting people and just living. And so I kept deferring until eventually I kind of said to myself, no, right, like, let's do this. Let's crack on and do the drama therapy postgraduate, which I did at Hertfordshire University. It was 1 year. To anyone who's never studied drama therapy, I suppose, in a year, it's like being pulled through a bush backwards at high speed. That was always like when people said, so how was your training? I would say, well, this is my experience of it because it's incredibly intense. And it's very fast moving. And for someone, I'm a slow burn thinker. I take my time to incubate and to think. It was quite challenging because everything was very fast paced.
The people on the course with you at Hertfordshire, were they from various backgrounds or drama like you? Was there any commonality at all?
I think everyone had quite different backgrounds. There were 2 other South African ladies, so that was quite nice. One was a drama teacher who I'd heard about around Cape Town. And then the other one, I'm actually now trying to think what her core training was. I have a feeling it was psychology. And then but she was also very drama based in Johannesburg. And then there were people from all walks of life. There were psychology students, there were psychologists, everyone just had different experiences. We had someone from Greece. So everyone everyone came from different experiences. You had to be a more mature student. This isn't something that you can go into straight after school. You've got to have something like whether it's a degree or pre-experience. And you've got to have also experience, I think, more of the helping fields as well. So it's not just you've got the drama. For me, I think it was because I had the combination of working in a children's home and the drama experience. Because I didn't have a degree at that time. I thought the day I signed up for the drama therapy training, when I went to take all your paperwork and you go and you register, I thought they were going to say, well, you don't actually have a degree, so you can't do it. Because I had my 3 years of drama training, and then I had my 2 years plus of working in the children's home. I think that was what got me on the course.
I was going to ask, how important was that work experience at the children's home?
I think it was absolutely essential. I think I was very young, so I was in my early 20s, and I was very green because I'd come from a fairly stable, family life, although obviously we had ups and downs, and as everyone does. I came from a family unit where I didn't really have an understanding maybe of some of the difficulties other people had. And I suppose that's what also part of coming to live in London has given me, it gave me a deeper understanding into not everyone's life. Everything wasn't always rosy, but we pootled along. But I think working in the children's home gave me a really solid base about understanding children's experiences and how they affected them, and how children are really resilient. But also there are things that children have gone through that are traumas. I think trauma's become a very big word that people use for lots of different things. I don't think everything is a trauma. I think some people experience things as really tricky and really difficult. I don't think everything is trauma. I think the word has become, dare I say it, overused, because I think it also then takes away from people who have had trauma. And your life experience is your life experience. I'd never take that away from anybody. I think these kids in the children's home had all experienced trauma.
This very intense learning experience then at Hertfordshire, did that involve working in the community? Were there placements? How did it work?
Yeah. We only had one placement, which I think in retrospect, I think was a mistake, because I think the students I host on placement now have multiple placements. And I think that's really helpful, because I think you get to see things from lots of different perspectives, work in different teams, etc. I had one placement with adults with learning disabilities. And again, that was really helpful, because although there was an organization in South Africa that my dad was on the board of, and it was adults and children with learning disabilities. So every holiday, Sunday, open days, we were always there at Glendale, which was an amazing organization. I had experience of being around people with learning difficulties. But this was really intense, because it was although it was only a day a week, you were very much thrown into being part of the community. There was no sitting on the sidelines of, I'm just here to observe, I'm just here to run. Yeah, I ran two groups. We had to run a drama group and a dramatherapy group. But there was no sitting on the sidelines. I ran my groups, but then I was part of the community. I was part of being in the hall and, everyone being together and doing activities together. It was really beneficial, really helpful. And I had a really lovely placement manager whose name escapes me, but was really supportive. And I found it a really supportive environment. So I was very lucky.
Were they there to guide you when you finished the course in terms of places that you could go to find work?
I think it was quite hard. I think drama therapy is still quite niche. So we tend to go out and make our own jobs, as it were. There's more now than there was, but there wasn't a lot of places where you could find a job as a drama therapist. It wasn't something that was just mainstream like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but it's not as mainstream, even as a family therapist or psychotherapist. It's never been, and I don't think it still is as mainstream. So you often ended up in jobs so I was a mental health worker for a long time, using my drama therapy skills, as opposed to drama therapist. Now I'm fortunate that the post is arts therapist, which is better than mental health worker. Not that I have anything against mental health workers. It was my career, it was my job for a very long time, and I'm, very grateful for the work I did. But now I'm a drama therapist, which feels like I've arrived, that I can finally use my title.
Is it the same for other kinds of therapy? For example, art therapy, that there is still this kind of people needing to find their space within that?
I mean, this might be controversial, but I think art therapists, I don't know if they haven't had it easier, but I think art therapists, I think it's more known in some ways. I'm not sure what that's about, because if I say to someone, I'm a drama therapist, and they look at me and I go, do you know what art therapy is? And they'll go, oh yeah, I've heard of that. So more people tend to have heard of art therapy. I mean, in the early days, people would say, oh, is that drama for actors, drama therapy? And I would obviously have to go, no, and then explain. So I think it's tricky for all the creative or the arts therapists. But I think in my mind, art therapy, always people kind of knew what it was. So drama therapy was a little bit further down the rung. But when you explain it to people, there's a very warm reception about it. There's a lot of like, oh yeah, because not everyone can sit and talk and have a conversation. Some people need to be able to connect in different ways to understanding what might be happening for them or parts of themselves or whatever you're working on.
How do you go about building a name for yourself? Do you approach local authorities? Is it about finding schools? Where do you start?
Because I'd done my teaching, when I came here, I did a lot of supply teaching, and I went back to supply teaching and thought that when I'm doing my supply teaching, I would tell them I'm a drama therapist. And I ended up in 2 schools that way, where I worked for quite a long time in 2 different schools. And then one school said that because I only had 2 young people in that school. Because at that point, what I was doing was I was working in a community learning disability, not placement, but it was like lots of houses that, where there was lots of people with learning disabilities of different levels. And I was working with them and I was working in different schools. And so I was all over the place a little bit. And I wanted to just work in one place. So I approached one of my schools and I said, I'd love a full-time job. And they were like, we can't give you one, but there's this program that's coming out called BIP, which was Behavior Improvement Program. And it was all about trying to support children from not getting excluded from schools. And I was working in Hackney at the time. And I applied for the job and said when I went for my interview, and my school said that I could be placed there as we were called education personal development workers. And they were a bit cross with me and they were like, well, we decide where to place you. And I said, yes, but my school said I could be placed there. And I did get placed there. And it was amazing because we really built up the drama therapy work. It became part of the school fabric. But then when it started to become much more, I'm taking children to detention who I'm seeing for therapy, I thought, oh no, I can't do this anymore. It's like crossing over. And this was a couple of years in where things started changing. And then I was kind of redeployed into the team at the Education Authority. And I was then a mental health worker doing drama therapy.
And doing drama therapy in schools?
Yes. Yeah. So most of my career was and has been doing drama therapy in schools. It's only the last 3 years that I'm now in clinic because the schools team I work for got shut down for lots of different reasons. And now I am the drama therapist. There are luckily some other drama therapists in the team as well, not in my direct team, but so now I am a drama therapist in clinic in a CAM setting, which is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service.
When you do this work, whether in schools or in clinic, is it frequently done on an individual basis? Do you work with small groups, large groups?
I work a lot with individuals and I do groups, but the groups they're not pure drama therapy because I've written them specific groups. They're not kind of process-led groups, which I've done in the past where we work with what the group brings us and we work on the themes. The planning is the themes, what we did last time, and we're adaptable. We might change what we're doing in the moment. But these are written groups that I've written specifically for stress and anxiety and worry, where there's a junior group and then there's a senior group. And we're drawing from ideas of CBT, narrative, solution-focused drama therapy and psychoeducation, as opposed to just drama therapy. So my individual work is mostly drama therapy, but the group work is a mixture.
So how has the post-COVID generation affected things? Have things changed at all, your approach, the number of people seeking drama therapy?
We've definitely seen a rise in mental health. I don't know what it's like where you are, but we've definitely seen a rise. I don't know statistics and numbers, but definitely coming through our doors, we have a lot of young people. It's difficult because I think every generation with COVID, every generation has had losses and possibly some gains. But there's been a lot of knock-on effects of kids where, for instance, in adolescence, your adolescent is learning about being independent, your brain structure is changing, you're going out more, your friends are more your family than your family is, you're experimenting with things. And obviously with the COVID young people, they couldn't do any of that. So there's lots of little losses along the way which then kind of impact on you. And for instance, kids who were super anxious at school and then were being homeschooled were loving it because it was that anxiety completely withdrew because they were in their happy place. They were at home. There was less pressure, or the pressure was different. Whereas then now they were then back in schools where you were surrounded by, it felt like millions of people, and the school environment and all the structures, it, I think, knocked a lot of young people. There seems to be a lot more anxious people at the moment, anxious parents, anxious children. And there is I think it's a real issue, because I think one of the things we talk about in the Stress Busters is that anxiety and stress and worry is all part of life. We need it. It's all part of human development and human life. And I think there are also a generation of parents who don't want their kids to feel the difficult stuff. So we try and make things better. And I include myself in that. You know, if I could go back and redo certain parenting things, I would. But I think we try and make things better. And actually, that doesn't help our kids going forward, because how can I know I can survive the difficult things if I haven't had to do it before? So I think it's tricky.
If you were talking to a 17-year-old, 18-year-old who heard about drama therapy and thought, that sounds like the career for me, what would you advise them to do? What pathway should they follow?
Yeah, I think everyone has had different routes in. So my route was definitely the back routes. I think if you are someone who's interested in doing drama, I think is really helpful, because you get the full benefit of the experience of doing it. But I think also the psychology side of things, of volunteering, being a youth leader, helping out in wherever you can, whether it's in primary schools, doing after school clubs like drama clubs, or doing working in a community center, helping out, being a care worker. I think just getting experience of working with other people, getting experience of really learning to understand other people, I think is really helpful. If you're part of a youth movement, or if you're if you do have a religion and you do participate in activities, whether it's in your church, your shul, your mosque, or being part of the community stuff that happens there, youth leading, all of those things, I think helps.
With all of the experience you've gathered over the last 3 decades, what do you think is the most logical starting point from a study perspective? Because kids thinking, right, I'm going to go to university, I really like drama therapy. Psychology a more logical place, or maybe drama school as you did, or something completely different?
I think a lot of people that I've come across have started on the drama side of things. So doing a degree in drama, and then maybe following that up with something psychology based. Some people have done it the other way around. I think it really is personal preference. Some people have gone on to being actors and had careers in acting before they've come to drama therapy. There are a lot of actors that's how they started out. So I think it really is personal preference. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. I think if you do it the drama route, and then you also do the vocational stuff, like working in doing volunteer work or working as a youth worker or things like that, is helpful. I don't think there's nothing linear about this, because it's not something that you study straight out. You've got to have experience. You've got to have a little bit of life behind you. And you've got to have therapy. So I think if you want to study drama therapy, having your own therapy, whether it's drama therapy or art therapy or traditional humanistic therapy or psychotherapy, whatever, I don't think it matters. It's personal preference to what sits and works for you. I think really understanding yourself, because I think what drama therapy does is we work with things like transference and countertransference and projection, where you've really got to know yourself, your triggers, your history, in order to be able to work with young people or whatever client group you're working with. So I think having therapy is really helpful as well.
I wanted to ask you about something else because I know your career isn't limited to just to drama therapy. You do other quite interesting stuff, and that includes books. Is that correct?
Yes. So there are the Savannah Therapeutic Stories books. So there's 11 at the moment, with the 12th coming out next month. Yeah. So prior to COVID, I used to write therapeutic stories for some of the children I worked with, using the story as the jump into so if there was something a young person might be struggling with, and I thought, they're struggling to explore this, I might write a therapeutic story. And the story will hold the themes of what the difficulty, or from my perspective, what it looks like. Because obviously it's my perspective. It might not be how the child sees it. And so I was writing those, and then COVID came, and then a lot of my schools were asking me, how do we talk to the kids about this? Well, what do we do? Parents were saying, I don't know how to have a conversation about this, because things were really scary. None of us had ever been in this position before, as you know. And so I started writing some stories, and a friend of mine's daughter illustrated them, and we released them as PDFs around her networks, my networks, colleagues' networks, and we got a lot of really positive feedback from the stories. And then we changed, and then obviously everything was kept changing. There were 3 stories, and another drama therapist had contacted me and said, can I use these in my trust? And I said, absolutely, please do. And then she contacted me maybe 6 months later and said, things are changing ever so rapidly. I'd like to update one of the stories to reflect the changes. So we did it together. We wrote Tiana's Tale, which was the 3rd in the Savannah Therapeutic Story series. So after COVID started to calm down a little bit, a colleague said to me, we need something on loss now, because there'd been so many massive losses. I wrote a story and then sifted through the images that Erin had created for the PDF stories, and then cobbled together Silo's Sadness, which was about Silo losing his grandfather on the savannah to the pesky illness. And it was really well received. So that then led for our neurodevelopmental team at work to say to me, we really want to do one on autism. Will you do it with us? So we wrote Tallulah's Rules. And then Patricia and I wrote Tiana's Tale, which is about racism and about difference, and about what happens when one culture is driven out, and where do they go, what happens. And then that's kind of snowballed into me writing some of them by myself, and other people saying, can we collaborate? We'd like to write a book on. And now next month there'll be 12.
And if people want to get these books, what do they have to do?
Well, we are self-published, so we're on Amazon. So if you search under my name or Savannah Therapeutic Stories without the H for Savannah, you'll find them there. They're all there. And we're really proud of them, because I feel like these books, the idea of these books is like the COVID stories, was to have the conversation and use the conversation as the springboard into talking about topics that can be tricky, like, loss, autism. We've now got ADHD, racism and difference, which is exploding in our world at the moment. We've got different families. We've got parental mental illness, feeling forgotten. So I think we cover quite a broad range. Our newest book, Ash's Den, is coming out next month, which is on children in the care system, which I've co-written with a really brilliant charity called Rowan Tree Dramatherapy, who do a lot of work in Kent around that, children in the care system. So yeah, very lucky. And then the other newest one was She's Still Grandma, about dementia, which I wrote with another brilliant charity called Roundabout. For their 40th year, they asked me if I would co-write a book with them. So I felt really honored and privileged, because it kind of felt like a full moment, circular moment, at the book launch, my old tutor, drama therapy tutor, Phil Jones, Professor Emeritus Phil Jones, who was my tutor, was there, and he wrote the foreword for the book. So it felt like a real full circle moment, selfishly for me. Yeah. So I really love writing the books. It's my creativity, collaboration, working with others, and putting something out there that even if one parent picks the book up or one teacher picks the book up and works with a young person with the story around the themes of what's happening, then feels like job done.
Talya, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really interesting.
It's such a pleasure. It's so lovely to be with you and to talk about, all things drama therapy in the books.